Well, good evening, everybody. All right, did you guys do your homework? There's always homework when I leave you guys. Terry did her homework and she wasn't even here. Well, it is good to see you guys on this Wednesday night. We finished our gifts class series stuff last week, and hopefully you guys are excited by that. Did you get them all inputted, Chris, and scored for them? Yeah, he's having a hard time differentiating between your check marks and your X's and scratch outs, and then second check, and then a scratch out with an initial with an arrow back to the first one. Yeah. There's a couple buffering ones, not from Rachel. Rachel finished her test, so she doesn't have that. But we're working on those for you guys. This Wednesday and the next 3 Wednesdays, we're going to look at kind of who we are as Marshall Road, walk through some different things that we're a part of, that we serve with, so you guys get to see what we do and who we partner with, which will be lots of fun. And then on the 27th, we're having a worship night, like we had a couple months ago. Except for this time, we're praying for no tornado during the middle of it. It kind of shook some things up last time, but it was still fun. You guys had blast with that. So today we have a great joy of a guy that I've gotten to meet and hang out with and enjoy hanging out with. Greg's going to come up and share about the North Pulaski Baptist Association. That's the local association that we're partnered with. But before that, Chris said that you guys could ask one question and we'll answer it. Okay, no questions. All right, cool beans. With that, then, we'll go ahead and get started. Greg, if you want to come up, we'll get going.
All right. Well, listen, it's good to be back. Some of you know me. I've been here before Roy arrived, after Roy arrived. Um, no. I do know some of you folks as well. So real briefly, I want to share with you tonight what we do as an association. So hopefully that's going to come up there there we go. We're going to talk about that. Every year we have a theme. Friday I will celebrate my 5th anniversary as the associational missionary. And so this role used to be that of a director of missions, the associational missionary, but the title for my role now is an associational mission strategist. And the reason for that is we exist for the local church. And so everything that we do, we have in mind the local church. And so we have 42 almost, and by year's end we could have 45 churches that are a part of the association. Our association runs from Maumelle, North Little Rock, Sherwood, Jacksonville, up to Cabot, to the line, and then out to Scott, if you know where Scott's at. So we have a church out there. And so about half our pastors are full-time, half our pastors are bivocational. Our longest tenured pastor just celebrated 49 years at the same church. And next summer, he will celebrate his 50th anniversary at that church. We have most of our pastors, whether bivocational or full-time, are normally long tenured. We have not had, since I've been here, a lot of turnover, but we're starting to see some of that, and just some of that is just due to guys hitting retirement age and the various needs that they have. So every year we have a theme. This year our theme is the mission matters most, and and the idea is that we are on mission together, and that's constantly in the back of our mind. So we have a mission statement that we've worked on because we believe that our churches are a family of churches that partner to fulfill the Great Commission by impacting lostness and making disciples. And so that is what we focus on. All of our support comes from the churches that make up the association. People are always surprised when they find out that the association does not receive any cooperative program funding. So everything that we get, everything that we have comes from our local churches, and that's how we function and operate. And that God has blessed us in that area. We have 3 ministry focuses. These are the areas that we focus on, which keeps us on track, allows me to say no to some things, yes to others. So we do church strengthening, believing that healthy pastors and healthy churches leads to healthy multiplication. And coming out of COVID, when I arrived back, I arrived in the middle of COVID. And so coming out of that, there had been so much isolation that we've worked really hard to get our pastors healthy, building relationships and partnerships with them, and also building trust. The second area we work on is church mobilization, engaging churches in local and global missions. One of the big things that we do is we encourage, and we'll see that in a couple more slides, but we encourage pastors to go on mission. And so we will give any pastor in our association once a year a mission scholarship up to $1,000 to go on a mission trip. Because, again, we believe that when that pastor experiences mission and brings that back, it builds enthusiasm in the local church. But we also have a formula where we also fund or help other lay people in the churches go on mission. And we have a formula for that. It'll be anywhere from $100 to $400, depending on how much the mission trip is. And then church renewal. We focus on revitalization, replanting, because we believe that every church needs some type of renewal. And that has become even more clear this summer as I meet with pastors and had lunch with one today talking all about what renewal means. A lot of times when you talk about revitalization or other things, they get scared or uncertain about what that means. But in reality, what we're talking about is renewal. By that, I simply mean a lot of times churches lose their focus. They forget why they exist. We don't have any mega churches in our association. Our smallest church probably runs around 10. Our largest church probably runs somewhere close to 800. All of our churches are in communities. Our office is at Second Baptist Church in Jacksonville, not too far from me. That's where our office is. When I arrived, we had a 32,000 square foot building. We now have 400 square feet of office space. That has translated in us being able to take $40,000 that was being expended on a building, maintenance and insurance, that we've been able to turn that back into ministry and ministry opportunities. So we have one of the things that we provide our churches. We have a number of ministry resources that our churches take advantage of. The block party trailer, which you guys have used. We no longer have a bounce house on there because of insurance requirements. We had to take it off. The liability was too great. So we took it off, but we just recently replaced it with we have a basketball inflatable on there now. We have a Connect 4 inflatable on there now. We have a global Gaga pit on there now, and we have a 9 square. So we took one thing off and replaced it with 4 others. Always wanting to make that accessible to our churches, but also providing with it. And so we have supplies on there. We have cotton candy, snow cone, popcorn. All the supplies are on there. We have a sound system. We have a grill. We have 2 generators. So there's a lot of stuff on there that our churches are able to use. We have archery tag. Again, you guys have borrowed parts of that from time to time here at the church. But you may not know we have a block party in a box. And the reason that we do is sometimes we have smaller groups like a Sunday school class that wants to do something, and so having that for them, everything is in there, in that box. All they have to do is pick up the box, everything's in there. If you go to our website, which is northpulaskibaptist.org, you'll find a lot more information than what I have tonight. We have an outdoor movie in a box, so if you wanted to show an outdoor movie, we have everything in there to do that. The projector, everything. We have the same thing for indoor. Also, we have a wide format printer. Most of our churches, we've been blessed. Several years ago, a lot of our churches print banners, indoors, outdoors, and so several years ago we bought one. When we first bought it, we were having to charge the churches by the foot, but God, again, has blessed us financially, and so now we make those free of charge to churches. So anytime there's a banner that they need, for whatever reason, we're able to print it right there in-house for them. And so that's become a really great resource for a lot of especially some of our smaller churches. And then we have a chainsaw unit. 2 years ago, remember the tornado that came through? We had, as a result of that, we had a number of teams that came to the area. But from that, we had a number of churches that gave us some funds. And so as a result, we have a chainsaw unit that can be used anytime locally that a church has a need or a church member has a tree go down. A couple of months ago, one of our pastors called when the storms came through, tree came down. He needed some help. I called a couple of guys, and in 2 hours, the tree was down, out to the road, and things were back to normal. But then we can also deploy if we need to. But the biggest thing was we wanted it to have it here because we always get winds, and we always have storms. And so that's been a great resource. And then we have a large outdoor grill. That grill has 8 sections on it, and so you can, one of the reasons that we made it so large is so that when somebody uses it, you can use it without cross-contaminating. That's become a big issue a lot of times for folks, so you can do that. It's available, pulls right behind the truck. We have 4 caring centers, food pantries in the association. Npba Baptist has one out on 107, out by Smoke and Buns. The church is out there. This summer, they are also a spot where kids who are out of school for the summer come and pick up meals throughout the summer. But they have a time every month where they help assist families. Berea Baptist Church, how many of you know where Berea Baptist Church is? They're open on Tuesdays, and they have we've helped them out quite a bit. The Hesed Food Pantry is on the campus of North Hills Baptist Church, but it's actually operated by Central Baptist Church. 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday, they served almost 900 people in 2 hours. The Grove is out in North Little Rock, out on 365, and it's a ministry of Graves Memorial Baptist Church. And so several years ago, their building burned to the ground. They've since rebuilt it, but they have a tremendous presence there in the community. And then First Baptist Small Mill has what they call First Family Ministries. They have a clothes closet there for foster families. So anytime there's a foster family that has a need, they have pretty much everything that foster family would want as far as clothing, from babies right on up to teenagers. And so they have regular hours. We're there for them, but they take phone calls all the time. So a lot of times when a kid's taken out of a home, the only thing they have is the clothes on their back. And so this First Family Ministry that the church has there allows them an opportunity to assist those families in need. And then let me talk for a minute about ministry funding. So I mentioned a few minutes ago about the fact that we do mission scholarships. Again, I know that the church here has had the opportunity to benefit from some of those mission scholarships. We have the one for the pastors. More and more pastors are taking advantage of it. By the way, more and more churches are taking advantage of that. It says on here it's $90,000, but the reality is at this point right now in 2025, we have distributed somewhere close to $125,000 in mission scholarships. The total mission scholarships this year is reaching close to $25,000. And that a portion of that comes from years ago. The association had a camp. They sold the campground. That money is in a foundation fund, and all the interest that's earned on that goes directly towards mission scholarships and nothing else. And then, of course, we've helped to fund summer interns. Summer interns are high school graduates or college students, or in some cases adults who in the summertime will work in a local church. And so we have created a way for churches to be able to have summer interns. This year we had our largest number. I think we have 9 summer interns this year throughout the association. Again, we have a formula for that. If the church runs less than 100, we will fund that summer missionary for 10 weeks. And at $3,000, which is essentially $300 a week, 20 hours a week. And then if they have over 100, we will give them a half scholarship, which is $1,500. So the church pays half, we pay half, and again, they work. We have found that that has been the best model for us, especially for those who may be thinking about ministry. We've had some that, as they've gone through this, it's only solidified their call to ministry. We've had others who've determined, you know what? I don't think ministry is for me. But that's okay, because better to figure that out now than halfway or 3/4 of the way through college and to decide, you know what, I need to change majors. And so that's been it's been good for us to be able to do that in our local churches. And as a result, we've had some of the interns who've actually helped the churches create a ministry that did not exist before they came. They were able to carry it on. I talked about church renewal, and we've been involved in that. In 2021, we had a church out towards Scott. It was, at that time, it was called Morrison's Chapel, and it became Bible Truth. But we got a call in early 2021, around January, that they had decided to disband and brought us the keys to the building. That church has since been replanted, and a church that has less than 15 parking spots. And about half the size of this building here will run 80 to 90 now on Sunday mornings. That in 2020, 21 was closed down. And so God sent us a group of people that had a love and a passion for that area. And I've been out there and had to park along the main road to be able to find a place to park to get into the church. And so we were able to help facilitate that, and we're glad for that. Fresh Start Community Church is in Sherwood. They meet, it's an African-American church. They meet on the campus of First Baptist Church Sherwood. So they had a building that used to be for early education. They no longer did that. And so this church has moved there and went from 0, and they're running about 50 to 60 now. And some would say, well, why would you plant a church there? Because in doing the work, we found out that there were several thousand African Americans that lived within just minutes of where the church sits there in the community. And so First Baptist Sherwood and Fresh Start have a great partnership together. They do things together throughout the school year, both in the spring and the fall. That's been great. And then Unity Bible Baptist Church is where Bethany Baptist Church in Rose City. They're on the corner of Eureka Gardens Road. That church, for a number of reasons, had gotten to the point where there was only a handful of folks. And so for 2 years, we walked them through what it would look like if they would allow us the opportunity and privilege of, one, replanting the church, but also carrying on the church's legacy in that community. As a result, if you know, the community has changed, the makeup of the community has changed. Unity Bible is, again, another African-American church that is now running over 100. They started the first Sunday in January of 2023. They had a back-to-school bash this past Saturday. There are a number of people there in the community now who are a part of the church attending. There's even one grandmother down the road from the church who, when she has her grandchildren, brings all 12 of them to church with her. And she's able to walk because of the availability of it there in the community. And so, and we've got a couple of churches right now that are looking to partner with us. We're going to be meeting with our leadership to probably put them under watch care for the next year. But again, one of the things we really enjoy is love assisting churches to impact the kingdom. And so the churches that are struggling, our desire is to see God do something fresh and new there. Because we'll never be able to put those we'll never be able to get them in those communities again, but if we have an opportunity to do something else with them or different with them, we believe the kingdom impact long term is great. And so let me make sure I'm not skipping anything here with my fat fingers. So we have a number with our churches because of our partnership. We have a number of ministry partnerships with our churches. We have Martha Freeman is the admin at our office. She's incredible. So she does a lot with our admin group, keeping them informed of what's happening around the association when events are taking place. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on X, so there's information always there. We have a children's leadership group, and they meet. Normally quarterly, they'll come together, and what it is, they share ideas. From time to time, they'll meet in different churches to see what that church is doing in that children's area, what kind of resources they're using, what kind of check-in stuff that they're using. And so they do that a lot. And then, of course, in the summertime, a lot of them will share Vacation Bible School. All of our churches are doing something different. And so normally we kind of know who's doing what, when, and where. And so we let them know when that stuff's going to be available. And it's been a great help to some of our smaller churches, especially being able to have those resources. And our churches all do Vacation Bible School differently. Some do one day. Some will do the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some will do Saturday and Sunday. Some will do Wednesday through the weekend. Some will do morning during the day. Some will do evening. Some will do 5 weeks. They'll take the 5 days and do 1 week, 1 day each week during the summer. And so, again, our goal is just to try to help them facilitate whatever it looks like for them. We have a student leaderships group. We even have a group meet with those men and women who serve. If you have students in 2 weeks, I think it is August the 13th, we have what we call Reality Check. It's a back-to-school event for students. This year it'll be at Bearing Cross Baptist Church. They'll have pizza, they'll have a time of worship, a challenge, and then after it's over with, there'll be ice cream on the way out, and it's from 6:30 to 8:30. And the pizza, we're working on having pizza from Shotgun Dan's that night for everybody who comes. So we've ordered 50 pizzas, 25 cheese and 25 pepperoni for that evening. And so, again, we work with this is all led by our student leaders in the association. They are also working on now a winter retreat in January, and which will once again be led by our student leaders, and we are trying to help them facilitate that. And so that's the role that we play with regards to that. Last year we started a women in leadership group, and this past May they had their first night of worship, which a number of ladies here were involved in. And we will be doing that again after that evening. Some wanted us to do it every month. That's just not possible or practical, but we are going to do it again. And so we're always looking for ways, because, again, we have so many women in our churches who are serving in various capacities, and so we acknowledge that, and we want to support them. We have a pastor's fellowship, and it really is a fellowship. We do breakfast once a month. We do lunch once a month, and the reason that we do that is because we believe that they just need the time to come together. There's no meeting. There's no agenda. It's just they will eat. Next Tuesday morning at our office, we'll have breakfast for them, and it'll be everything that you would want. And then we have our leadership team. Our leadership team kind of helps me lead the association from year to year, and help us just keep our focus the main thing. And so with our pastors, we have pastoral support, we have lunch and learns, we have prayer gatherings, we have a summer fellowship, we provide them with resources, we do pastor appreciation during the month of October, because when I got here I found out a lot of our churches did not recognize their pastors during the month of October for pastor appreciation. Some had never been recognized. And so we just felt that was a way for us to acknowledge the work that they do throughout the course of the year. We have a golf outing that we have. This year it got rained out. And then we have a Christmas dinner. It's a time for them to, again, it's a nice evening out. And so we're able to do that. So we have some additional partnership ministries. One is with the Harmony Baptist Association down in Pine Bluff. We work with the BCM there at the college with Matthew Hall, which I know that a number of you guys are familiar with. And he's actually been helping out for Sherwood this summer as well. But Matthew will be speaking at the Reality Check. And then Matthew Stubbs, who is the BCM guy in Little Rock, at Euler, he'll be the one leading the worship. So we'll have the two Matts at our Reality Check. And then we're working on the Sierra Baptist Association in Reno, Nevada. We're working on a partnership with them because it is very much a pioneer area, and the churches are extremely spread out in that area. And so let me talk ministry events. If you've ever been to What's at Stake night, you know that you eat well. We've got churches that have already asked us if you have it on the calendar. We do. It will be February the 28th, and it'll be at the community center here in Jacksonville. So we're anticipating 400 that evening. The Disciple Now, the winter retreat with students, reality check. A couple of years ago, we did Nerf Wars at one of our churches in their gym. And I said, what do I need to do? They said, bring the pizza and bring the water. And I did. I brought the pizza, brought the water, and then I got out of there. Because there were like 200 kids running around that gym that night. Vacation Bible School, I already mentioned. We've done a lot here in the city with Community Thanksgiving Meal every year. And then, of course, we did this past May, the Women's Night of Worship, which was a huge thing. In my role, there are other ministry opportunities that I have. One is supply preaching. One is training pastor search teams. One is doing Smart Starts. Smart Start is once the pastor leaves, I go in for 8 weeks, and I help guide the church through that transition and hopefully setting them up for success. And that way they know who's going to be there every week, and we help everyone involved because it's normally a shock when that happens. We do deacon training, and then, of course, recently we've added at our office, we've built a podcast studio. And our churches and pastors have access to the podcast studio as well as we do. Ours is going to be called Cross Conversations because in Arkansas, 1,100 of the 1,442 Southern Baptist churches are led by bivocational pastors. The average attendance of a Southern Baptist church across the state of Arkansas on any given Sunday is 58. And so that is the latest information that we have. And so many of those churches are led by bivocational pastors, and many of the other folks who work in the church are volunteers. And so our goal with these conversations is to help provide them what they need, hopefully at no charge to them. And so our goal is to find what's out there, make it available to the churches, because oftentimes if it's going to cost something, it's going to be impossible. Because one of the things you may or may not know that our churches are dealing with is that we've had a number of churches who have had their insurance canceled. And not only have they had it canceled, but the increases. We had one church, their insurance went from $20,000 in 1 year to $60,000 with no explanation. We have another church that had to pay their entire annual premium up front, $22,000. And so they had to borrow the money. And then we've had some churches who've just dropped it altogether. And so we discourage that. But we've been able to help a number of those churches. We found some independent insurance agents who've been able to come in and help save our churches some money, but also to help them through these challenges that they're facing in the local church. And so that's become, again, because you pay that and you don't see anything for that, but you think about it, $60,000, that's $5,000 a month. That's crazy. But it's happening all across our state. So again, we are literally trying to address it to see how we can moving forward. What I would ask for you to think about this evening as I begin to wind down, but I also want to give you a chance to ask questions, is there are challenges facing us, facing our churches. One of the things that I see a lot of is a lack of spiritual awareness and little kingdom focus. A lot of focus on just keeping the doors open and the lights on, but very little focus on making an impact in their community. We have churches who have not baptized anyone in years, and in some cases, they have entire sections of the church that they've not used. One of the churches that we had the privilege of replanting that I mentioned earlier had not met in their sanctuary in 8 years. And we also have a number of churches who meet on Sunday morning only. Sunday school, worship, and then that's it. They drive in, drive out, and it's closed until the next Sunday morning. And so there is. By the way, this is not just something that I've noticed here. We see it all over the place. We really do. For whatever reason, the church has lost its mission. That was, the Great Commission to go and make disciples. That's not happening. But at the same time, the young people today are looking for meaningful worship. And by the way, it has nothing to do with music. They're not looking for the smoke and the mirrors. They're not looking for the show. They're looking for true, meaningful worship. And by the way, it doesn't matter what you sing, whether it's hymns or whether it's new music. We've got some churches in our association that are traditional as traditional can be. And you know what? They do it very, very well. They really do. Their musicians are top-notch. Their song leader is top-notch, and they do it. And you know what? They're having an impact. And so we have churches from one to the other. But overall, there's a lack of spiritual awareness. Number two, in our association of 42 churches, pastoral transition is going to be a big thing in the next 5 years. 40% of our pastors are either at retirement age or over retirement age. You would be surprised the number of pastors that we have serving that are in their 70s. Yes, sir. Yeah, a lot of them will work till 67. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a number of them that are early 70s, mid 70s, late 70s. The pastor that's been at the church 49 years, he's 77 years old. So you think about how old he was when he came. But even more so than that, the difficulty is that there are not enough pastors to go around. So who's going to pastor these churches when they're gone? In any given month in the state of Arkansas, there's 150 to 200 church openings, pastorless churches in the state of Arkansas. And it's been that way since I've been here for 5 years. That number has remained consistent. And so, again, we need churches to raise up leaders, leaders who may not necessarily want to leave the community but feel led to go into ministry. And you know what? There are opportunities presenting themselves all the time in our area. A number of our churches, we've had churches that are near closure. Since I was here since I got here, 9 have closed. Out of those 9, we've only been able to replant or pre-plant 2, plant 1. It would surprise you if I told you that I met with a church and they told me they know they're dying because when I go, I'm the youngest person there. But said, one day we'll call you, we'll give you the keys, we'll give you the checkbook, but until then, just leave us alone. And, that's not what God's called the church to be and do. And so our goal, one of the reasons that we're so avid about and passionate about renewal is that we believe that God has a work that he still wants to do in every single one of the communities, where every single one of these churches are. And if there's any way at all that we can come alongside them and have them see the need to leave something beyond their time there, where God can do something new, because after all, it is his church, that we want to see that happen. And thankfully, we've had some success stories now, so it's not something in theory. It's something we've actually seen God do in several places. A number of our churches are facing financial time bombs, and by that, a lot of churches have deferred maintenance, things that they just keep kicking down the road, whether it's and by the way, whether it's parking lots, AC, But here's the thing. Here's what they're not realizing is that a lot of the reasons the insurance companies are dropping them is because they're sending people out there and they're finding all of this stuff, and they're thinking it's not. You know what? We can drop them, and then what happens is something. And by the way, most churches are not prepared for these financial time bombs. I mean, an air conditioner, $15,000. I know a lot of our churches don't have $15,000. But again, insurance, as I've already mentioned, emergency planning. A lot of our churches aren't planning for the future, setting aside, income monthly so that when these unexpected things come up, again, most of our churches, in addition to their exorbitant insurance premiums, they've also changed the formula on how much a church has to have, how much a church has to kick out before the insurance kicks in, and it's a percentage. So, and by the way, they look at the whole thing, not just the piece. So if it's $1 million and you've got to come up with 2%, that's a lot of money before the insurance kicks in. I know that because I had a friend who has an associational building, and they had to spend $25,000 because that's what they had to spend before the insurance would kick in. You and I know churches don't just have that kind of money sitting around. And so we're encouraging churches to begin in their budgeting to begin to plan for those things that things are going to break. They do at our house, amen? And at church it seems to always happen on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night, right? I remember years ago driving to church on Sunday morning, and they had turned the air conditioning on, and next thing I know, the fire department was all over our building. We were smoked out. Smoked out on a Sunday morning. What do? You just go with it, Nothing you can do. My last church I served in, was 4 blocks from the beach, and had not had air conditioning in the foyer for 17 years. And it faced the water. So guess what? The only time we could meet in there was on Sunday mornings because we couldn't cool it down enough any other time to get in there. So again, these are real things that hopefully our churches will begin to think about. But looking ahead, the next 5 years here in the association, we've begun to look ahead. Leadership development in the local church is one of those things we want to prioritize because we believe the leaders that we need are sitting in a lot of our churches in the pews, and we just need to have a more practical way to not only help develop them, but also see the need to answer God's call. Discipleship tools. Again, we hear from a lot of guys. They go to a conference. It's a great tool. It's good. It just doesn't fit. It's just not going to fit where they're at. Or whoever's talking about it has somebody else who actually does it. And so again, a lot of our churches are either dealing with a single pastor and multiple volunteers. So one of the things that we're hosting next year is called the Revive Pastors Conference. It's going to be April 22nd and 23rd of next year. It'll be a Tuesday and a half a day Wednesday, and the goal of that is just to encourage pastors. We're hoping to have Richard Blackaby as one of the speakers, but it will be for pastors only. I know. We're also trying to find ways to have greater involvement from our bivocational guys because their life is, literally they've got 2 full-time jobs. Pastoring full-time, working full-time. We continue to want to focus on our women's ministry and how we can better serve the ladies who volunteer in our churches. And so our ladies will help us with that. I don't even pretend to have an idea what that looks like or what that need is, but I know that we have enough ladies in our association who do. And so we're going to lean on them. And then senior adults. Probably in most of our churches, the most overlooked and underutilized are the senior adults in our churches. And so our goal is to help our churches mobilize them to have greater kingdom impact. Because most of them who do retire are still involved, still wanting to do, and so we're trying to figure out ways that we can help make that happen. And so, as we, when I say we, the North Pulaski Association, our goals for the next 5 years is we're going to focus on the whole concept of renewal. And so next year, our focus is going to be on spiritual renewal. And so we're not only working on that, but we're also coming out. We're going to have some ideas of what that looks like and what that means in the local church, not just throwing it out there, but giving real meaningful ideas on how a church can be involved in that. The year after that, it's going to be evangelism renewal or prayer renewal. Prayer is probably one of the greatest keys missing in our local churches. And the Bible makes it clear that God doesn't move apart from the prayer. And when you look what happens when God's people begin to pray, God begins to move. He begins to move in the local church. He begins to move through the people in the church. He begins to move through the community. And so we're going to focus on spiritual renewal because we believe that spiritual renewal will lead to prayer renewal, which will ultimately lead to evangelism renewal. And by the way, evangelism still works. We have evangelism tools in our office. We have bracelets. We have 3 circles. We have spinners that are for 3 circles that kids love. We have Spanish tracts. I think we've given probably close to 2,000 Bibles out this year to our churches to distribute when they've had events going on. Again, because we believe that sharing the gospel, whatever you're doing in the community, a part of that needs to be sharing the gospel, having those gospel conversations. And then the 4th year will be partnership renewal, and then ultimately the 5th year will be multiplication renewal. And so having been where we've been, that's what we're going to focus on. And again, that falls back into the 3 areas of ministry that we are focusing on as an association: church strengthening, church mobilization, and church renewal. And so we want to be really intentional about that. Because, listen, when the kingdom of God wins, we all win. And so that's why we as an association, we exist for the local church. And so everything that we do, we focus on the local church. Would you be surprised if I told you there were about 62 churches in Jacksonville alone? 62 churches throughout all of Jacksonville. And you know what? There's not a single one that's packed. And they come in all, various shapes and sizes as well. But so the need is great. And so our goal is to help, once again, prioritize not only the local church, but areas in the local church that we believe will have over time will have the greatest kingdom impact. So that's why we partner with the local church. We want to do everything we can to help your pastor and you as a people be able to impact your community for the kingdom. And so we don't pretend to know what that is all the time, which is why we ask our pastors a lot of time, tell us what it is that you need. Tell us how we can help you. Tell us what it is that we can. I get phone calls. You'd be surprised. I get phone calls for plumbers. I get phone calls for people who can fix glass, electricians. And so we, in the office, we're constantly working on having a business directory. So when people call, we're not saying we're endorsing this person, but we know if you call them, they'll respond and they'll treat you fairly. And so that's what we're looking for when we try to help our churches. And so we have Anglo churches, African American churches. We have 2 Korean churches. How many of you knew we had 2 Korean churches? We have 2. One of them right over here on Main Street. And interestingly enough, they have 2 services. They have an English service and they have a Korean service. And so the English service is made up primarily of the husbands of the guys who married ladies from Korea. But the ladies meet every day of the week at 6 a.m. to pray year round. And they have a meal together every Sunday after church. And so that's a cultural thing. We have another church over on Kill that is a Korean church. Again, speaking the native language, and they are great partners. You know, if you're ever wanting sometime, and I'm not saying skipping church, but if you ever want to go, it's a great experience in our African American churches and in our Korean churches, because they love God just like we do, but they worship differently, and that's okay, because they're meeting the needs of a segment of the population that we never could. And so we love having them as part of our association. If you would want to be praying for something, we need some Hispanic church planters. There are over 3,000 Hispanics in Jacksonville, and we don't have a single Hispanic work. We need 2 in North Little Rock, and we don't have a single Hispanic anywhere to be found. So if you would make that a matter of prayer for us, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, I'm going to stop and give you a chance to ask questions. Yes, ma'am.
How about the churches that have doubled up worship service? Are they separate churches?
No, so the churches that have 2 services, normally the services are identical. And they're simply asking people to choose a time. But the worship services themselves are identical. Same music, same message, just we have some that meet in the afternoon, yeah. Like I said, we have some that do Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. A lot of our churches now do Sunday morning and Wednesday night. And the reason for that is they know that people are only going to give them so many hours of their time a week. And so they have zeroed in making both Sunday morning and Wednesday night prime times. Any other questions?
I'm just curious, Greg, what's been the biggest transformation that you've seen in the 5 years that you've been in?
So coming into COVID, we had some churches that never stopped meeting, didn't. But the ones who seemed to have the least amount of fall off from the time COVID started until it opened back up were those churches and pastors and volunteers who were intentional about staying in contact with the people during that time period. They are the ones that have bounced back the quickest and the fastest. And the ones who did not are the ones that have probably struggled the most to get back to pre-COVID numbers. In addition to that, we are seeing probably last year and this year, probably the largest increase in salvations and baptisms that we've seen in a while. And a lot of that has been to the fact that our churches have become more intentional in sharing it, but also in everything that they do. And we're seeing, and we're not seeing nearly as much church hopping. We just aren't. Most of the new people are coming into our churches are coming in from new people they've reached in the community. They do. They could come and stay. You know, we have 2 here in town that do a lot with the military, and so a lot of the work that they do with them is preparing them for when they go to be good leaders wherever they end up at. And so they realize they only have them for a season, so while they've got them for that season, they use them, and then they commission them and send them out. Yes, ma'am.
Just recently read an article about 2 churches in Little Rock that actually merged. And what was so interesting about these churches is that one was a black church and one was a white church, and they have very different styles, but they spent, I don't know, a year or more preparing their congregations to merge. And, doing it little by little. And I can't help but think 62 churches in Jacksonville,
Mm-hmm.
so many churches in the state of Arkansas without pastors. Why aren't we considering doing more of that?
It's not that we're not considering it. The autonomy of the local church dictates it. And so a lot of times churches are unwilling to give up their ability to make decisions. For example, I know a church in our state where there's 2 ladies. That's all that's left. And they refuse to have the church closed. But they're committed to, they're going to be there every Sunday. Huh? But no, we see that a lot. Again, it comes down to control. There are those who don't want to give up control, decision making, and so it really takes. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes God moving to change people's hearts, to be willing to have an open hand, and say, you know what, God has allowed us to lead this for this season, but it's time for us to have an open hand and allow God to do something maybe different or new. And then the other thing that is impacted is a lot of our churches that are struggling, the community has changed and the church has not changed with the community. And so we've got several churches where everybody drives into the church, and as soon as it was over, they drive out. And the next time you'll see them will be the next Sunday when they drive in. So during the week, they have zero contact or zero impact whatsoever in that community. And people say, well, why don't you go tell them? I can't tell any church what to do. You can't tell a church what to do. You can pray with them. You can counsel them. You can meet with them. You can share opportunities and options with them. But at the end of the day, it's their choice. Yeah. Other questions?
What do we need to do to progress with where we are?
I have found you have to love them where they are and pray that God will get them where they need to be. I know that sounds overly simplistic, but that's how I've seen it work. The one church, it was 2 years. And for them, it was like a death the day that things switched. But now, seeing what God's doing there, it was hard, it was difficult, but they're glad they did. But when you're going through it, sometimes you just can't see. And I've discovered that a lot of times it's because so many people, their memories, their emotions. My child got saved there. My grandchild got saved there. So and so got so and so got married there, and so they feel like that when they're no longer there, that there's that loss, and it's real. That loss for them is real, and understanding that you have to let people grieve in their own way, at their own pace, at their own time, but then ultimately hope that when the time comes, that they'll do what you believe to be the right thing. Yes, sir.
What opportunities are out there in the North Pulaski Baptist Association for individuals that are willing to help in certain areas that other churches may not necessarily be equipped to handle?
They happen more frequently. For example, just had a pastor call me a couple weeks ago. They're an older congregation, but they've had some kids who have been coming to the church for a while. And school's about to start, and they're going to be youth. And they don't have any youth workers. And by the way, finding youth workers, you think finding pastors is hard? Finding youth workers is even harder. But fortunately, we've got a great group of youth guys in our association, and so we've got one of our student pastors that there's a couple in this church who've come forward and said they would like to do it. And so I've got a student pastor who's going to coach them and who's going to mentor them in that local church setting so that church will have someone who can serve the needs of those students. Even though it's only 2 or 3, but they've got some younger kids who are coming up as well. So they see the need not only now, but they see the need going forward. And their thought is if we've got 2 or 3 now, and we've got somebody who works with them, who knows what we'll have in a few months' time. And so, here's a couple, has no background, no training, but they're willing to step into it. And fortunately, we have folks who are willing to step in and help assist them, which is that kingdom mindset that we're talking about earlier, which makes it great. And that just happened. Anything else? Well, as I wrap up, one, I want to pray, but two, I want to thank you for being a part of the association. And I want to thank you for your support, your financial support that allows us to do all the things that you saw that that we are doing, and the countless stories that we get to hear of what God's doing as a result of the faithfulness of our churches. And so one of our roles is to be a good steward of that. And so we are right now in the process of creating an endowment that will allow us to fund mission scholarships, summer interns, and church renewal for the foreseeable future. And that's just by the grace of God. And so I love getting to come and share what God's doing. I know you don't get to see it or hear it, but I just want you to know God is on the move in North Pulaski. And you are a big part of that. Every church is a big part of that. And we really don't have small churches. We really don't have insignificant churches, because what God does when we partner together, it's incredible to see what he does. So, Brother Roy, thanks for the opportunity to come and share tonight. And if there's ever any way that we can help you, please don't hesitate to let us know. And again, thank you. Thank you for the privilege of getting to serve the churches of North Pulaski. Let me pray. Father in heaven, I am grateful to be able to be here tonight and to share all that you are doing amongst the churches in North Pulaski. And I'm thankful for Marshall Road Church. I'm thankful for Brother Roy. I'm thankful for what you're doing here in this church, in this community with the folks who are here. And I pray that you will continue to multiply their impact. And you will continue to provide the leaders, that you will continue to provide the resources that they need for the kingdom impact they desire to have. Father, we love you tonight, and we never want to lose sight of that. And we're thankful that you would choose any of us tonight to be involved in the Great Commission of reaching people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. But we're so thankful that you're allowing us to do it right here in this small part of the world, and to see the lives that are being changed on a daily and weekly basis. Lord, we love you. And it never gets old seeing what you can do in and through the people in our local church who are sold out, bought in, and desire to lay it all down for the kingdom, for your kingdom, for your honor, for your praise, and for your glory. Again, tonight, we love you. In Christ's name, amen.
All right, I saw all the looks when he said podcast studio. Chris said no. Just playing. Chris didn't say no. Chris said when, I'm pretty sure was the statement, right? Who knows? Pray for it. Never know what'll happen. But with that, you guys are excused for tonight. I encourage you to come back next week. We'll talk about hot topics. You'll love it. I don't want to spoil it any more than that.
Hot topics, it's already hot out.
Yeah, we're going to turn the heat up. So, all right, you guys have a great day. If you have any questions or anything, Greg's up here, myself, and Chris, and Christy. I'm throwing you under the bus. Sorry. Other than that, have fun, hang out for a few minutes before you rush out. I know the kids are ready to go home because they made it back from camp. Or maybe just Amy's ready to go home.
Nina.